Welcome back to the Two Promises podcast. Let's dive right into another exciting adventure with BD and crew as he pursues his new passion of one day finding the best, most epic bourbon. The Two Promises team sends their special thanks to Hobie and the Huckleberries for that masterful theme music. So grab a glass, relax, and enjoy responsibly.
Baby says she's leaving if I don't stop drinking wine. So I switched to whiskey, now I'm feeling fine. Drinking that smooth, smooth whiskey. No more wine. I like straight bourbon. Baby, you try the ride.
Welcome back, everyone. It is so good to have you here. We are saying goodbye to 2020 and everything that went along with it, the good, the bad, the everything. Hold on to those anchors that you have, and I'm super excited to welcome in 2021. There's still a lot of uncertainty in the world. Make sure that you're holding on to those techniques that got you through 2020. Whenever I said saying goodbye to, the good and the bad, I don't want that to get mixed up. But finding peace, finding solace with whatever it was, good, bad, ugly, and then finding a way to either, if it is a relationship that just needs to be cut off completely, to like a weed that needs to be plucked, stay strong in that resolution, and again, for the intention of the greater good, more collectively whole and healed. So as we look forward into 2021, there's going to be a lot of things that will be outside of our control. And for me, it's been very important to be able to focus on what I can control. So in 2020, it was my health. And I'm going to be posting some before and after snapshots of some different metrics that would gauge my health. Last year, 2019 in September, I was probably the most out of shape I've ever been in my life. Just putting on my shoes would get me kind of short of breath. I was outside of health body mass index standards, and I had to be taped for part of my physical readiness stuff. And that was something that I never really saw myself being, especially as young as I am. 34 years old before I was a little bit younger then, you get what I'm saying? But that's besides the point. I knew that I was not on the right path with my health. I knew that if I continued going down that road, the writing was on the wall. It was going to be bad. So I decided I was going to start taking control of the things within my control. And that started with my health, both my mental health and my physical health. And those two are very closely related. So as we're moving on into this new year, I'm going to introduce the whiskey of the week, and the whiskey of the week is the whiskey diet. That's right, you heard me correctly. The whiskey of the week right now is the whiskey diet. That is how much I believe in this to kind of turn your health around. And again, it's a baseline. If you're already in optimal health, I'm encouraging you to explore at least fasting as part of a regime, whether that's intermittent or for a long fasting period, because that can do a lot of things to kind of clean out and detox the body as well as the gut. It's very good for gut health. But do your research. If you're already in that optimal health, I'm not telling you to just jump into something, unawares. I'm saying consider it as an adjunct to, as a supplement to what you're already doing for your health. And there's lots and lots of research and material out there on fasting, whether it's intermittent or for just different periods of time. So being home with my family, it has just been super wonderful, really. Even just the normal things, celebrating the old traditions that we have had with the green stuff like we mentioned previously, and then helping my mom burn all of the rubbish and, the storm blew down some branches and some trees whatever. And so we burnt some of these this stuff, and my mom really enjoys that. She just gets a kick out of it, and I do too. So it's absolutely it was super fun to be able to spend time with my mom doing that and taking down the Christmas lights with my dad. We just did a bunch of that this morning, and it was a lot of fun just kind of putting a pin on that part of the holiday season. So I'm wishing you all well on this, and if you have been joining me on the whiskey diet, we welcome your feedback in our socials, in our social media accounts, in our communities. And what we really want to do this episode is to give you some tools to kind of stay on track with your goals, whether it's the whiskey diet or you're trying to revolutionize your health and fitness. That's besides the point. That's not the only reason that this podcast exists. This podcast is to equip, empower, enlighten, invigorate, and challenge my thinking, our thinking collectively, and find some, different ways of doing things that might work for us. So what I'm wanting to throw out here is a handful of tools that you can put in your toolbox, should you so choose, to help you stay on track with your goals, to help you manage some of your expectations, to set up some feedback loops for yourself so that you can see visibly a little bit clearer some of the progress that you have been able to make, so that you can celebrate those things and prevent potentially going into a negative spiral loop. Now, again, I'm not saying that negative emotions are bad or that you shouldn't feel angry or depressed or angry or sad or, something like that. But what I am trying to say is recognize those things and to express them in healthy ways. And if you catch yourself going into a negative spiral or a negative loop or something like that, that is not good for you, your health and your relationships, recognize them, stop them, and having the tools to function better in some of these kind of chaotic lives. If you happen to have any hormonal imbalances or mood disorders or mental health disorders, all of these tools that we kind of talk about are definitely going to be things that you can consider that might be useful in balancing your relationship. So let's get into it, right? So I had a good time working with my parents, but they all have their own idiosyncrasies, their own ways of communications, right? So let's move into a couple things. And as we know, it is winter in many places, so that includes, I want to do some public service announcements. If you're out celebrating, I know that there's a lot of social distancing restrictions, but if you are, please have a driver, drive safely, do not drink and drive, pay attention to others, and, wear your safety belts, do all the things, have some safety equipment in your vehicle, basic stuff, food, water, survival, like maybe a first aid kit of some sort, or whatever you would need to get to the nearest amount of help. If you're out in the country, you might need more stuff. If you're in a city, you might just need your cell phone. But be prepared, have your emergency services numbers readily available, and take care of each other. Our lives are very precious. The roads can be slick and dangerous, and depending on where you're at in the world, there's lots of dangers out there. So please hold your loved ones tight, stay warm out there, and let's move in with optimism and joy into looking at some of these tools to help us stay on track and crush whatever the goals that we might have, or intentions, resolutions, whatever you may call them, for this coming year, years, and the future. So, remember, one quote that my brother kind of told me about, and I'm just going to kind of summarize it because I don't remember it very well off the top of my head, but it says, well, watch your thoughts, for your thoughts become your actions, and your actions become, your deeds and your character, and so on and so forth, right? So we have to start really small with some of these things, because that's really where the root is. When we're talking about some of those weeds and stuff like that, sometimes those weeds can be our thoughts. Sometimes those weeds are our negative self-talk, and those really are. And when I say sometimes, I mean they realistically are. So having that faith, that focus, that confidence, getting those weeds out, taking those thoughts, stopping them, and replacing them with a truth, a positivity, the right spin on that to confidently move you in the area of success that you need to go into. So boom, tool, trick number 1. Quick, easy. Guarding your thoughts, watching your thoughts, improving them, right? Another thing that has helped me is just focusing on a few simple things that are very important to me. For me, last year, that was my own health, and that's my mental health, my physical health, etc., and helping healthy relationships and the health of as many people around me as I could. Granted that my own mental health was still within balance. Of course, I could stress myself, I could put myself out there a little bit further than maybe I could or should, but that also would mean that I would need to retreat back up a little bit and seek a little bit of safety and recovery and regeneration. So focusing on those couple things that are your top priorities that guide a lot of your other decisions. So having a podcast was part of that. So being able to chunk down those goals and being able to incrementally take off some of the tasking lists, some of the action items, some of the to-do lists gradually at a pace that still created results, or even if it wasn't perfect results, it was still measurable metric results, timelines. I would have a podcast raw edited content by a certain date and time every week so that all of the editing can be done. But then in the meantime, I'm also working on all of the other areas and battles within my life. But since I'm focusing primarily on healing of myself and those around me, or the things around me, then I can guide each of my actions. And if I find too much resistance to where I'm getting into too much anger or too much bitterness or too much sour mood or things that are just toxic, then that's my time to step back, find a different area that I can step into and potentially reset myself and rebalance myself and continue progress in a different area in a more healthy way. Now, the quote was from Lao Tzu, probably butchered that name, but it says, "Watch your thoughts, they become words. Watch your words, they become actions. Watch your actions, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny." Lao Tzu. So, with that being said, we're going to move into some of those areas of focus. So, I needed those two areas of focus to help me. And some additional reading that I think you might find fascinating that also kind of falls into, I think, the positive psychology category, I believe, is the book The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. And we will leave that in the show notes as well, and that's The Power of Habit. So another resource that you might be very interested in if you're not into digesting entire books at a time, Brian Johnson with Optimize Me does an incredible job of synthesizing huge concepts or large books and breaking them down into super easy to understand formats. And I would consider him a mentor of mine as well. So definitely want to give a shout out to Brian Johnson at Optimize Me. I think that's still his website name. I hope so. Either way, I want to make sure that he's mentioned here in the podcast because does a lot of great things, and I really need to get back in touch with him and where he is on his mission and his goal and journey. He had a really big vision and super incredible. So again, Power of Habit, a book you can look into, and if you're looking into kind of Cliff Notes, Reader's Digest, take in a lot of concepts really quick, you want to just kind of tear through some material, check out Brian Johnson for sure. So back to what we were talking about on giving some tools and techniques to help different people crush their goals, whether it's a fitness, health, lifestyle goal, business goal, relationship goal, finance goal, doesn't matter. Let's give you guys some techniques and some tools to keep you on track. You've heard about my 80-20 rule. That might not work well for some people. Some people might be the more cold turkey people. That's great. If you can do that, fantastic. I need some lubricant. I need some lube because of whatever. The black and white lines, super clear lines are phenomenal. Lawyers love clear black and white lines. Many things love clear black and white lines. And if you're already in a function and flow there, keep with it. Don't worry about some of the 80-20 cheating stuff, right? That was to reestablish and to reset a baseline. And again, different people flow in different ways. So the healing for myself, making sure that my energy was protected, protecting my mental peace, so that at the end of the day, I could go to sleep peacefully knowing that I had respected my core values for the most part, you know what I mean? And that I was largely congruent with those core values at the end of the day, and that I've done things to course correct things. And if not, I made a mental note, okay, cool, things feel a little bit out of balance in this relationship, in this area. I'm just going to tomorrow intentionally do XYZ for that. So boom, keeping that mental peace if there were some gray areas that might need cleared up. And for me, so again, we're looking for improvement in whatever it is that your goal, the area that you might be. I would like to learn the harmonica, get back to learning the harmonica, and at least taking intentional steps to continue learning languages and culture. So that's just kind of a casual pursuit of mine that I just fit into whenever my energies feel like pursuing that area, but it's an area that I focus on. So I try not to miss more than 2 days, and luckily some of the tools that I use have built-in notifications to remind me if I'm about to miss one of those goals of mine, to keep me on track for my belief in progress. So let's talk about a few ways that you can stay on track. The streak method. Some great weightlifters and other thought leaders have used the streak method extremely well, and that's where they basically create a tally mark on a visual space, whether it's a wall or a whiteboard, and that's I did my job every day, whatever it was. I went to the gym, I made 5 phone calls, cold calls, or I did however many income bringing activities, or I tracked this, or I, signed up for a relationship seminar with my significant other, or whatever it might be. You are tracking, okay, I put some stuff into the relationship bank, I did this, I hit my goal, 100 push-ups a day, or whatever, doesn't matter. Check, 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 check. And if you've got a whiteboard or something like that, and you want to subcategorize that into, say, self-development mentally, where you made sure that you read 15 minutes a day, and that gets a tally mark for that. I did something fitness related, that gets a tally mark for that, and you can track that. Now, here's the kicker for that. If you miss your one day, so suppose you're black and white and you're saying, if I miss one single day of this habit, it's so important to me that if I miss one single day, I have to erase that entire tally line and start over. And for some people, just that knowledge that they have to erase everything and then start over is enough to keep them in a daily habit, a daily consistent rhythm routine of whatever that might be. And it could be multiple. I don't know where you're at. I don't know where you're starting at. You could be tackling so many areas of growth because you're able to right now, because you've got the foundation to, that you're just about to go animal style on everything, and that's going to be incredible. And I totally support you in any way that I can support you. Let me know, because I want to see it happen, because that's amazing. And I know it's going to be so incredible for your life and for those around you. So I want to encourage that and push that momentum your way, because I know how powerful it can be. So your streak method tally mark and completely erasing it if you miss that tally. And it could be meditation. It could be a mindfulness exercise. It could be seeking into a spiritual quest, a spiritual journey, or learning about a different religion or more about your own religion, or challenging yourself into a different realm of thought. So your goals are your goals. So your whiteboard tracking method. Another great way is journaling. Journaling is a really good tool, and I don't know if you're a pen and paper person or if you like some of the digital journaling, but there's so many different apps and tools and trackers. And just through the years, I've kind of found that Evernote is where I put a lot of my fitness stuff. So if I do a workout, this is something I've fallen off on recently, and I need to renew that habit because it was a powerful one and a strong one, and it helped me get back in shape quickly once I kind of found myself way off the wagon, you know what I'm saying, and maybe being drugged for a while. But, if you've been there, say amen or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So journaling. So that is where you just kind of take notes on your area of activity. Okay, I did these workouts this time. I had this weight. It took me about this long, or whatever it is that you're doing. But you want to give yourself numbers. You want to give yourself some hard lines. You want to be able to write very specifically, clearly, what it was you actually did, so that if you came back to it, you could say, can I do this again 2 years later? Am I stronger, weaker, or about the same, right? And then once you start getting into those flows, now that you've got this whole database or this list, journal list of all these things that you've done before to get you to where a really strong, powerful baseline where you felt confident, strong, ready to take on the world, boom. Well, now you've got your breadcrumb trail to get you right back there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to go find a new fitness guru. You don't have to go rewrite another 12-week fitness plan. You just plug and play with what you got right there. So again, we're going to go, so I talked about the harmonica and languages. Those are some things. Well, I incorporate things together. I like listening to language CDs while I'm working out sometimes, or while I'm doing different things. So those different multitasking ways of doing things have been helpful for me. So I want to get into packing on a little bit more weight. So I might get into a little bit more like traditional weightlifting. And then that's going to be a really good time for me to kind of zone out with an audiobook or a language CD or something and just lift. And I'm doing just reps and stuff like that so I can build back up some of that muscle. I'm down to 132 pounds right now. All the trackers in the Rinfo app are green across the board. That's a little app that my mom got for Christmas with a scale, and I was able to piggyback off of that, use it, and give myself that baseline check-in. I posted it on some of my socials, but again, I'll post that hopefully with the one that I took a little over a year ago, and whenever I was definitely chunkier. I was probably around 160-something, and yeah. Okay, so moving on, journaling, great way. And that's, okay, did I do XYZ for this relationship? What did I do? Where did I improve? Where did I sow? Where did I weed? All that kind of stuff. What fruits maybe were we able to share together? So rewards. This is a pretty simple one, giving yourself a little reward. So with my 80-20 rule, that's okay. On the weekends, I get to eat whatever I want. I'm super excited. I'm going to have Krispy Kreme donuts or whatever. I'm going to have Copico coffee, or it doesn't matter, right? You've got that reward system built in. And if you share those rewards with others, all of those different feelings and sensations are going to reinforce those neural pathways and more empower those feelings of success. Celebrate those things. And if you want to really improve your reward system, don't use rewards that reinforce a negative habit that you're steering away from. So I know I said that on my weekends I was going to use Krispy Kreme donuts, but if I'm really trying to lose weight, that's kind of a negative piece, right? But I had my end in mind, and I knew where I was at, and I didn't see a Krispy Kreme donut on a Saturday as being such a big roadblock. But if it is for you, steer clear and avoid. You know what I'm saying? So don't use rewards that reinforce the negative habit that you're trying to steer away from. Fall back on that self-care. Fall back on getting in touch with yourself. Whether that's breathing exercises, yoga, whether that's taking a walk, whether that's painting, whether that's listening to music, whether that's talking it out with a close friend. Make sure that you're balancing your energy so that you can show up in the world as best as we possibly can. And then that's, again, preventing some of the roots of toxicity by not projecting a bunch of negativity out there or putting a bunch of negativity out there, whether it's projected or whatever, it doesn't matter. So another thing is accountability partners. If you're on a certain journey, and you could have loose accountability partners, you could have firm accountability partners. Again, work that out between yourself and what you need. But that goes into your whole support network by proclaiming or saying or intending, saying, I am going to start a podcast on, and it's going to be this link, blah, 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 and sharing that with everyone. That sets up another layer of psychological, I need to do this, by having like a emotional commitment with my network, with my friends, with my family. So sharing it, proclaiming it, and holding to it is another way that I can get accountability, but not we check in every day, or we check in every, Sunday, or whatever it may be. And then the more measurable metrics you can use to track your progress, the better. What I've started doing is just writing down the big wins that I've checked off of my list on a day-to-day basis in a little notebook that I got from my good buddy Eo and his Korean church whenever we were doing some outside services. So it's a yearly planner, and I'm just kind of tracking the things that I have accomplished on a day-to-day basis so that I can know, okay, on this day I did this. And that's just a journaling thing that I'm adding. And then if I get in a good habit with that, I can push more and more things into my subconscious or into that habit realm, which goes back to that Power of Habit book. That's where if you dive deeper in that and you're reinforcing those habits, you're going to see that you can do so many more things naturally and seamlessly that so many other people will look at you with kind of awe and wonder how did they accomplish so much. And it's because of how much work can be done whenever you've pushed so many things into your subconscious realm of, say, habit, etc. So then that might steamroll into some of the other things that I really want, where I'm journaling more purposefully instead of just tracking my measurable metrics. And again, pictures are great ways, visuals. If you're in a fitness goal, take pictures of your body in good light. Have a friend do it, that you trust, so that you can kind of joke about it, make some light about it, find ways to work through that process and take the pictures before, during, after. And this visually reinforces the progress that you've made, because sometimes we hide our success from ourselves. So whenever you can reinforce that with a visual, clear picture, oh yes, I have made this, or when you look back through your notes and you see your progress tracker and you say, oh, I started here completely lost underneath this whole pile of paperwork, and now I'm on track to graduate college in October, right? So, but having that little breadcrumb to look back at of all of the successes that you made throughout and along the way, and recognizing all the people that helped getting you there along the way, remembering to give grace back and to pay it forward, you know what I mean? To reach out and be the hand that helps the next person along in line. And then don't be afraid to ask your friends that if they see you kind of in a slump, to help them remind you of the good progress that you have made. And then that's another feedback loop that reinforces, okay, yes, I may not be exactly where I want to be, or I may not be as far along as I wanted to, because we all get down, we all have days, etc. But having those people to kind of just keep you back more on baseline is going to be super instrumental in maintaining and sustaining, and along with your own personal resilience. Okay, so another one thing that I want to touch on before we wrap it up is mentors. Getting mentors in the different areas that you care about. If it's relationships, finance, business, if it's spiritual, hobbies, any interest that is very important to you, is having those mentors that you can check in with that are further along, that you do respect, that whenever you show up with them, if you are not prepared, then you feel like you did them a disservice, right? And having those people, and again, setting those boundaries with each other on how often you check in and what you're supposed to do, and what you should have prepared and what questions that you might have. Honor those relationships, honor those times, honor those spaces, and you are going to see some crazy dramatic results in your future, especially if you've already been laying a foundation with your life by setting forth intentionality, working in faith, or working in faith definitely, and working in areas, cultivating your own personal powers, your own personal passions, and then opening up your mind and ready to spring into some other areas. I'm telling you, if you've already laid these foundations, then this year is going to be incredibly mind-blowing, and I'm super excited to see everyone's journey. Please share it with us, and if you're looking for mentors, again, stay involved in the community. Get involved in the community. Look around. Find the people that have the creative spark that you're looking for, or have the business drive that you're looking for, or have the financial savvy that you're looking for, or have the communication abilities that you desire, or the relationship strengths and foundations that you want to have in your life, either because you're lacking it, or it's because something you see it in the future as something that you would desire to have, and you want to start working on those things now. All of these things are wonderful ways, and they're ways to express your own personal passions. So I'm super excited to see where we all go together and grow together in 2021. Reach out to your loved ones. Thanks again. Stay safe. Again, there's a lot of wildness out there in the world, so be prepared, stay safe, and I look forward to engaging with all of you and catching up and seeing how everyone just crushes this new year. Thank you all very much, and I will see you soon.
Thank you for joining us today on this curious roller coaster of life. If this is your stop, please exit peacefully and enjoy the rest of your day. If you're ready for another one, just push play. A final note before you go: thank you. And thank you for feeling. The distillation and aging process is different for everyone. I'm not quite sure what you're ready for, so please sip slowly and enjoy responsibly.
Baby says she's leaving if I don't stop drinking wine. So I switched to whiskey and I'm feeling fine. Drinking that smooth